I think maybe we better skip ahead to the story that we want to tell. I will throw in a story from Harvey Oakley. And Harvey was the sixth child. And this was the story when he was a little boy. He was not in pants yet. He still wore what they called a dress. And he was the little boy in the family. And every Christmas, we'd go out and buy lots of store-bought candy. You know, go to Ogle's and get some of that candied mix. And I'd put it up in the second floor where we lived. And between the ceiling and the floor of the second floor, there's some space there. A real small space. And in that room, that's where I locked up the candy so the kids couldn't get to it. Not till Christmas anyway. Well, some of those, you might have been involved too, I don't know, but I bet that some of those boys put Harvey up to doing something. You're all doing, I know. They wanted some of that candy ahead of Christmas, so they got Harvey to crawl in that space between the ceiling and the floor.
We stuffed him.
Yeah, so he was crawling along in that space. It was a real small space. It was dark, and he was a little scared too, I'm sure. And then suddenly he couldn't move anymore. That dress got caught on something, and he couldn't go forward, and he couldn't go backwards. And little Harvey just started to cry. Oh, Daddy, Daddy! So I had to go, and I think I had to use the broom handle or something to try to get him out of that hole, and I finally pulled him out of that space, and he was glad to be out from that hole. Well, I didn't punish the boy because it was probably somebody else's fault, but I didn't give him any candy either until Christmas. So that's a little Oakley family story. But Penny, you got a quick one too. Do that quick story about your mother, Anna May. She loved Christmas, didn't she?
She loved it.
She did. She did all sorts of gift giving and all.
She used to go shopping and buy all her kids and grandkids. They had 13 kids and 19 grandchildren and all kinds of great-grandchildren and great-great-grandchildren. Mm-hmm. But anyways, when she was living, she'd just shop all year, going to yard sales, whatever. And then she'd sort all the stuff out at Christmas, and she used white trash bags to sort them out to what she wanted to give everybody, and she'd put a red bow on it. Well, one year, my son and my nephew, she had bought a package that had 3 pairs of socks in it. And she liked to be fair with everybody, so she separated the socks, and she gave my son 3 socks and my nephew 3 socks because she wanted to be fair. And they were so tickled when they opened them up. They said, "Wow, Mamaw got us a pair of socks, and we got an extra one in case we lose one."
There you go. One more story. We'll probably have to rush through it, but this took place in the Christmas of 1911. We were still living at Scratch Britches Mountain.
I know.
And Christmas was coming on. Of course, we didn't have much money. And one of the things we done, we butchered a hog. And we had because we love to have some fresh pork loin for Christmas, for one thing. And then we salted it down. And then we stored that thing right in the lean-to kitchen that was built onto the original Scratch Britches Mountain. So it was there in that place, and so we got that done, but we needed money also. So I decided that I would go to the Little River Lumber Company, and I'd get a job there and make some money so that we could buy some things that we really needed for Christmas. So I said goodbye to the family, and I went over to the Little River. I was going to be cutting some trees over there. Well, little did I know that I was leaving my family in danger because something terrible was coming. Now, this is what Rebecca told me. She said that night they were inside sitting around the fireplace, and outside they heard this shriek. It was a loud shriek. It was like a woman shrieking real high-pitched. Just like she's maybe being beat up or hurt or killed or somehow. That just loud. Now I can't do it justice. I don't have a loud female voice, but it was something like. Well, inside everybody sort of froze. It was a,
Woke up the baby.
it woke up the baby started crying, your mama said, and you started crying too, didn't you?
I did too.
Yes, she did.
It sounded like somebody
terrified. It was a
getting murdered out
blood-curdling scream out
terrible.
there. And so they sort of stopped what they was doing, and Elmer, he told me that he just froze. He just didn't move a bit. So they listened some more, and pretty soon they heard, oh my gosh. Now your mama, she said that she didn't want to alarm you kids, so she got you off to bed as soon as she could and said, everything's going to be all right, go to bed. And she fed that fire. She figured now, if that animal was coming in, he was probably coming in for that meat. That meat in there, that's what he wanted. So she had a big fire going in the fireplace in case that panther decided to try to come down into the cabin. And so she fed that fire all night long. She did not go to bed that night. She was keeping watch. And outside, over and over, and it was just making her so nervous that finally she got the gun that was there, and I think it was the double-barrel shotgun, and she loaded that thing up, and she opened that little shutter window, that little square window, and kabang! She fired out that window. Well, things got a little bit quiet out there. But then a little bit later, all night long, yowling out there, and Rebecca made a plan. They had to get out of there. So, next morning, got the kids dressed, and she loaded up that shotgun, and she had made this contraption like a papoose, like a Cherokee papoose.
Shoulders.
Yeah.
She stuck the baby on her
She
shoulders.
put Martha in that papoose. She'd been born in July. She was 6 months old.
I wasn't very old. I
You were
was
about
tiny.
2.5, I believe, something
I
like
was
that.
tiny.
Elma was 5. So she had these little children that she was trying to protect. So they opened up the door. They looked out to see if there's anything they could see. They didn't see nothing around. So they decided it was safe to leave. So Elmer led the way. He was the man of the house. Behind him was Rebecca with that shotgun. And on her back was that old papoose with Martha in it. What were you doing?
I was hanging on to the apron for dear life.
I bet you were. It was scary.
I was.
Yeah.
And she dragged me all the way for miles behind. I couldn't keep up.
Yeah.
I tried to keep up.
Well, they headed on out. They passed the cow barn there, and they hit into the wild woods then. But then they heard, and they realized that panther was still behind them. So they kept walking and walking, trying to get away from that thing, and they could hear their footsteps in the leaves of winter, and they could hear that panther coming too.
Every time.
Yeah.
Every time.
Move a bit
We'd
forward.
take a few steps. That panther would take a step.
Yes.
We knew that panther was there.
Yeah. So they kept on walking. Well, now, if I had known that my family was in such danger, I'd have left that job. I'd have come in and I'd have done what I could, but I did not know. I was over there working away, and finally I left after a few days when the weather got real bad. It turned real bad, and so we couldn't do any more cutting. So that's why I finally left, and I went to Scratch Britches Mountain, and I got there, empty cabin. I looked around, I saw shotgun shells on the floor, but I didn't see a note. I didn't see any blood either, so I was glad of that. Well, I thought, now where have they gone? Maybe they've gone to Rebecca's mom and daddy, Bud Ogle and Cindy Ogle over in the Ogle cabin. Maybe they've gone over there. So I headed that way, went as fast as I could, and when I got there they were. All of the family, we was just hugging each other. I'm so worried about you. It's so good to see you, Daddy. And then everybody started trying to tell me what had been going on, and I wanted to know every detail about what was going on. But we were so much talking, you couldn't hear nothing. We didn't know what anybody was saying. But here's what I gathered: that after you headed down that trail, the panther kept following you, and your mama finally got so aggravated she turned around with that shotgun and kabang! Fired at that thing. Didn't hit it, of course, but it quieted it down. It settled it down. Animals don't like the sound of that. and you kept going, and you was headed for her sister,
we were going
Frankie.
to Frankie.
Aunt
Trying to get
Frankie
to
and
Aunt
Ed
Frankie.
Mellinger, their cabin. It was the
Yeah.
closest one. It was 3 miles on Baskin Creek Road.
But Mommy, she didn't have enough shotgun shells.
Oh, she's running out, wasn't she? Well, she got there. She yelled it loud, didn't she? And Ed came running out with his gun and fired it all. Pow! And she
Yeah.
led y'all into the cabin.
Yeah. And he came out in minutes. He came out and got us.
Yeah. Well, I'll bet it was
Yeah.
good to get in that nice cabin and
Yeah, it
get
was.
something to eat and,
Yeah.
and not be
well,
afraid no more.
Well, we were terrified.
Yes, you were.
We were terrified.
Well, the next thing, as I understand it, is that Ed and his sons and went with you, and they took the whole family, all 4 of them, over to the
Oh,
Bud
yeah.
Ogle cabin. And I'm
Okay.
sure you all know about the Bud Ogle cabin.
And Granny, when she found out, she was so happy
Yeah.
that she hugged us. And you know, she didn't hug very often. She
Mm-mm.
hugged us.
No.
So that was good.
Everybody that heard about that Panther killing dogs and all in the air, so everybody knows about it. And so the men, all Bud Ogle and his sons, and Ed and his sons, they all took their guns. They first went to Scratch Britches Mountain and secured everything, locked the cow up and good and fed and all that stuff, and the chickens inside. And then they went looking for that Panther. And all over the Smokies, people was looking for that Panther,
They
looking for that Panther.
They looked for
Yeah.
that Panther.
Well, finally, a fellow named, what was it?
Mr.
Husky.
Mr. Husky.
Stephen Husky. Him and his boys, they finally tracked down that Panther,
They did.
and they treed it, and they shot it. Kabang! Then what did they do?
They brought that Panther all the way back over to Bud Ogle cabin.
That's right.
And they stretched it out on our porch, and everybody come to see it.
Yeah, it was
Everybody.
an
And
attraction for a while.
He was kind of a tan color,
Uh-huh.
and he measured 6 feet from tip to tail.
Oh my gosh.
He did.
That was
He
a
was
big one.
huge.
Yeah.
He was huge.
I'm sorry.
And that was what was trying to get in our cabin.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry I didn't get to see that thing, but I was glad that y'all were safe and sound. And what happened next was we left you there in the Bud Ogle cabin, and I had some money in my pocket by that time, so we went to White Oak Flats to Ogle store and all, and we bought some things we needed, like shoes for the kids, and you needed some lamp oil, and we needed salt and things like that. We bought what we had and some little things for Christmas, and then we headed on back to Scratch Britches Mountain. Well, let's tell them about Christmas morning. Christmas morning, we all went back to the Bud Ogle cabin. They was having a big gathering there for Christmas.
Everybody
About
came.
20 odd
Everybody
people.
was there.
Yes, your cousins,
All
your
the
aunts, your
cousins,
uncles,
cousins we
granddaddies,
didn't even
and
know we
grandmamas.
had.
And everybody gathered,
Yeah.
bringing food, and there's just a lot of joy in the room with everybody gathering together. So we went to that thing. Yes, there was food everywhere. Oh my God, pork loin. They had chicken dumplings. They had scratch britches. Cat head biscuits. I'm trying to think of corn pone, pies. They had stack cake, of course.
Stack cake. They did apple stack cake.
But you know,
Oh,
Lucinda,
God.
I noticed that you wasn't too interested in that big table full of food there. That you had your eye on something else. What was that? Go ahead, tell it on yourself.
Okay. This was not a good Christmas for me. I mean, that Panther had been out there.
Yeah.
But I had my eye on this little square bowl on the table. I'd never seen one before. And it was full of this bright colored berries. What it was possum berry jam. Oh, I wanted some of that jam.
Possum grape jam.
It not only looked
Preserves.
good, but it was just so pretty. I wanted to taste it.
Yeah.
And so when it got where we all got our plates, we were getting our plates up, I grabbed up that and I put a whole pile of that stuff on my plate. And I was so tickled. And I went to eat it, and it was like I had a whole big
I saw your
spoon
face.
in
Oh,
my
it was
mouth.
terrible.
It was terrible. It just tasted terrible. And ooh,
What'd you do?
I spit it out on my plate, and Granny,
Uh-oh.
one that wasn't, good with her hugs, well, she said, if you're gonna act like that, you don't need to be at the table. And she pointed me out the door. And I was gonna miss I didn't care.
No.
I didn't care. I was pretty independent anyway. I'd figure out a way to eat something. So I just went out that door. Well, you see, she always had the door wide open, whether it was summer or winter. She left the door open because she was positive that if you kept the cabin locked up, that it brought bad air in the house. So we always had the front door open there.
Yeah.
So I just got pushed out.
You were in disgrace, Lucinda. Admit it, you were in disgrace.
I was.
Your mama, she was just a little bit embarrassed by you, but you know what? I looked at you and said, that's just like Lucinda. So you was out there and
I'd find my way.
Yeah, you did.
Find my way.
Well-
And then pretty soon there was, I believe,
it was Winnie.
Aunt Winnie.
It was
I think
Winnie.
it was Aunt
Yes, it
Winnie.
was.
And she snuck me something, a little good of everything that was on that table. And I just got every little thing that I wanted.
Yeah, they didn't pet people when they punished them back then. So you were out there sort of
No.
independent.
She snuck out, but nobody else would have
Yeah.
petted me.
So what would you say about that independent streak of yours?
Well, that's how I came to be who I was. I was always, a little stubborn.
Well, it started out to be kind of a scary Christmas in 1911, but turned out to be a Merry Christmas.
We had a happy one.
It was, and that's what some of the mountain people always say is Happy Christmas. So we wish you a Happy Christmas. And over here, let me mention, we got these toys. Charles made these handmade toys. These are authentically made by the Oakley family. Remember, Charles. So you want to come look at these. And one more little thing. It has been said that if you remember someone, if they're always in your memory, that then a little spark of your life is still going on. So, with that thought in mind, I thank you for remembering Wiley and all the good people back in the old days. Put your hands together and let's thank Don and Mary and everybody who came today. Thank you for coming.